Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a review/thought video. And for this one, I want to give my thoughts on Netflix's Scott Pilgrim Take Off, somewhat of a take on the famous comic book Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which also turned into a live-action movie, I think back in 2010. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Scott Pilgrim Take Off is rated TVMA here in the USA, though. For me, I didn't really I may have heard some snippets here and there about Scott Pilgrim. I think most of it may have been when I heard about they were doing a video game out of it or something like that. But I really didn't know much about it until I saw the 2010 live action movie, though. And while there were some elements, like some of the gaming references, which I thought were kind of neat, the movie didn't really click with me as much as it might have been for some folks out there. Now, some folks may have actually enjoyed it, and that's fine. I mean, for those who like it, that's great. More power to it all. But it didn't really, to me, it didn't really click at all for me, though. And supposedly it didn't do as well at the box office as I think it was Universal that distributed the film, as they would have wanted it to be. But it did certainly gain the following, though, and obviously Scott Pilgrim fans really did enjoy that movie and all. So it was kind of interesting to hear when Netflix was basically doing a Scott Pilgrim animated series or miniseries, depending on how you want to look at it, though. I figured I would try it out and see for myself whether or not I enjoyed this one or not, considering, like I said, the live action one didn't really click with me as much as I think some out there did. And after watching all 8 episodes, I will say this one was kind of interesting, and I definitely enjoyed it. It's much more than I had originally thought. I mean, again, like I said, I'm not a big Scott Pilgrim fan, but this one I came away pleased with what I did see with this one. So I'm going to break it down into what I like and what I didn't like, mix, not 100% sure about, though. In terms of what I liked, I will say that I definitely liked the story in this one. This one seemed to take sort of a different take on the Scott Pilgrim stories. Now, obviously, anybody who's read the comic books or seen the movie or even played the video game, which is, I think, now available on current platforms and everything like that, it's basically the story of Scott Pilgrim falling in love with a person he saw by the name of Ramona Flowers, if I'm saying her name correctly. But in order to date her, he has to fight the League of Exes or her evil exes and everything like that. This one kind of takes sort of a different take, as it seems to go down a completely different path than basically how the comic books does. So rather than follow the approach of the comic books or, the movie or anything like that, it basically instead there's a certain part where Scott Pilgrim basically disappears, or people thought he died or anything during his first battle with one of Ramona Flowers' evil ex, and Ramona Flowers starts trying to find out exactly what happened and everything like that. It's definitely an interesting and a different take, and I did not really expect it to take somewhat of a different approach than how I originally thought and everything like that. One other thing about it that I do like about in terms of the stories, I do also like the setting, how it takes place in the early 2000s and everything like that, of how, like how computers looked in the early 2000s, to even kind of doing a spoof of Netflix, which back then, Netflix basically would mail you DVDs and everything like that. This is way before, streaming happened and everything and all. So I really appreciate them aiming for the setting for basically Netflix and aiming for, like the early 2000s and everything like that for the story, though. The next thing I do want to talk about is sort of the anime style to it, though, and I have to say I am actually very impressed that they went with this approach and all. So it does stay true to basically the original comic book look and everything like that, and that certainly isn't a bad thing. But it definitely does have a little bit of basically anime style. In fact, some of the scenes kind of feel like if you've seen like other animes, like I think there's one called Girl Lagoon, if I'm saying the name correctly, or Kill La Kill for that matter. I mean, the style kind of almost feels very similar to it to a certain degree, though. So I definitely like the art style to it, though, or more closely to the comics. And last but not least, I will say that I do have to give credit to the producer and the folks who worked on the show on bringing the original cast back, basically from the live action movie to basically do this, though. This is actually kind of impressive, whether it's bringing Chris Evans back, who played one of the evil X's, to Michael Cena, who originally played Scott Pilgrim in the live action movie. It was certainly kind of surprising to see them bring the original cast back, and I thought, that's not bad. That's not really bad or anything like that. Obviously, as I mentioned, the story is a different take or different approach than from the original Scott Pilgrim comic strip and everything like that, but still very nice that they got the original cast and everything back here to do this movie and everything. Do this show and everything like that. As far as what I didn't like or mixed or not 100% sure about, I will have to say that one thing, and this is just my preference and taste, is though I do think the part where I think this is around episode 8, when they start seeing the Scott Pilgrim musical and everything like that, I just felt that one was just kind of lame and everything. Now, to be clear, I'm not big on musicals or anything like that. They just don't click with me as much as maybe other folks out there. So this one, I just thought this part was just kind of lame. At least in my book, I thought it was kind of lame and all. And last but not least, though, I'm not 100% sure if a season 2 is going to happen or not. And based on how episode 8 ended and all, I do feel like it's unlikely that a season 2 is going to happen. It is possible we could get a season 2 and all. There may be another story they can tell or anything in the Scott Pilgrim universe that Netflix has kind of done and everything like that. But I just feel like this is just one of those one-off series and all. Kind of like how Cyberpunk Edge Runner was. In a way, that was just kind of a one-off. They weren't really going to continue with that series and everything like that. So something tells me that this probably is what's going to be the case with Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Again, I could be wrong on that, but it seems unlikely we're going to see a season 2 and all. Overall, I would say I did come away watching Scott Pilgrim Take Off very pleased with what I basically saw on this. At its best, though, I do think that I like how they took a different approach to the comic strips or, the live-action movie and all, or the graphic novel, you could say, to be exact, though. I definitely thought that was an interesting take to it, especially with the setting taking place in the early 2000s, and not to mention some of the video game references they make in the show, though. I like the art style to it, which is sort of a mixture of an anime to, the graphic novel of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And also, I'm also surprised they brought the original cast from the live action movie to voice some of their characters and everything like that. So, excuse me, I will actually give them credit for that. At its worst, though, like I said, I thought the Scott Pilgrim musical was just lame and stupid. But like I said, I'm not a musical person, so it just doesn't really click with me. And it seems unlikely a season 2 will probably happen or anything like that. But in either case, though, I did like what I saw with this one. This one, I probably maybe enjoyed this one more than the live action movie that was like back in 2010 or something like that. But still, I think if you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, you'll probably like what you see, especially if you're a fan of the graphic novel and everything like that, though. I wouldn't mind if they do a season 2 or anything like that. I'm not sure they will, as I mentioned, but I definitely would be open to it if they decide to do a season 2 or not. But in either case, I do think if you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, you'll probably like what you see with Scott Pilgrim Take Off and all. Okay, this concludes my review/thought of Netflix's Scott Pilgrim Take Off. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Scott Pilgrim Take Off? Did you like that they took a different approach to the story, or do you think they should have stayed true to how the story of Scott Pilgrim has always been? Do you like the art style or the approach that they did to it, or the settings, taking place in the early 2000s and all? Were you pleased that they were bringing back the original cast who starred in the live-action Scott Pilgrim film and everything like that? Were there parts of it that you liked? Were there parts that you didn't like at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Lamps. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!